You ever feel like you're shouting into the void online? Like the stuff you used to love seeing just doesn't show up in your feed anymore? Well, for thousands of creators, that feeling became a terrifying, all-too-real problem. They uncovered this mysterious and massive drop in views that honestly would change the internet forever. So let's get into it and break down exactly what happened.
I mean, it's the dream for anyone posting content online, right? Hitting that viral lottery? But what does going viral even mean these days? The numbers might actually surprise you.
But here's the thing. It's not just about the total number of views. It's about the time frame. Getting 1 million views on TikTok over a year is cool and all. But getting them in 48 hours, that tells the algorithm that something really special is happening. It's all about the speed.
And that speed, it actually has a name: engagement velocity. Think of it like a rocket launch, you know? A slow burn isn't going to get you into orbit, but a huge, fast ignition in that first hour or so, that tells the platform's algorithm, hey, people are loving this. Push it out to everyone. For years, this has been the basic logic behind how content gets discovered.
But then, it's like overnight, that whole system just broke. For a huge chunk of the internet, the rocket just wouldn't launch anymore, no matter how good the fuel was.
And look, this isn't just some abstract data point. This quote is from a real full-time YouTuber. Can you imagine building your career for years, having a steady income, and then one day, poof, half your audience is just gone? That was the new reality for so many people, and nobody knew why.
So what in the world happened? This is where our explainer kind of turns into a detective story. We're going to follow the clues and see if we can figure out what caused this viewpocalypse. Okay, so the timeline here is super important. It looks like it all kicked off around one specific date, August 13th, 2025. First, there was this weird drop in desktop views. Then, in September, a huge viewership crash across the board. By early 2026, it was pretty clear this wasn't some temporary glitch. It was a permanent, and for many, a devastating new reality.
So, the first big clue? Well, it was hiding in plain sight on what might be the most valuable piece of real estate on the entire internet, the YouTube homepage.
And the change was, wow, it was dramatic. See, in 2024, if you made longer videos, you were competing for maybe 10 spots at the top of the page. But by late 2025, you were fighting for just 2 or 3 spots before the viewer hit this massive wall of shorts. Basically, the chance to get discovered just got physically squeezed off the page.
But you know, a smaller homepage, that can't be the whole story, right? It doesn't explain how massive this drop really was. The second and much bigger clue was totally invisible. It was a fundamental change in how the algorithm itself thinks.
It's this thing called predictive retention. And honestly, it's a total game changer. The old way was the algorithm shows you a video and then it reacts based on whether you watched it. Now, it tries to predict if you'll watch something before it even shows it to you. So it's not reacting anymore, it's prejudging content based on everything it knows about you. And this new AI, it has its own very specific set of rules. It loves broad, general appeal content way more than niche topics. It punishes creators who try to experiment with new formats. And here's the real shocker. It can decide that even though you subscribe to a channel, it predicts you won't like their next video. So it just doesn't show it to you at all.
So this new AI created this just brutal new reality for creators. Suddenly, it wasn't just about making great content for your audience anymore. It was about making content that the AI predicted a massive, broad audience would like.
And the impact? It was just staggering. A 50% drop in visibility and income wasn't some rare thing. For a lot of creators, it became the new normal. I mean, we're not talking about a pay cut here. For many, this was an existential threat to their whole career. So what do you even do in that situation? Well, creators had to scramble. They started chasing fleeting trends instead of making the timeless stuff they were known for. They diversified to other platforms. They built email lists, really anything to find a direct line to their own audience that the algorithm couldn't just cut off.
And this is where the story gets bigger than just YouTube or just creators. This is about a huge shift in our relationship with the platforms we use every single day.
You know, this quote from a Rank My Business analysis just hits the nail on the head. We've built these huge economies on platforms where the rules are secret and can be changed in an instant with absolutely massive consequences. That's a really dangerous dependency.
Okay, so after all that, what does this actually mean for you, the person watching? Well, it all boils down to one simple but pretty deep question. Who's really in charge of your feed?
This chart, it basically shows you the new power dynamic in a nutshell. Your choice, the conscious act of you subscribing to a channel,
it matters. But the AI's prediction of what you want, that now matters even more. So the end result is that your feed is less about what you chose and more about what an AI calculated about you. Which leaves us with one final, pretty big question. Clicking subscribe used to be a clear instruction, right? An act of personal choice. But if an algorithm can just quietly overrule that choice without you even knowing, are you really in control of your own digital world? It's just something to think about the next time you're scrolling.